fellow truth seekers, today I'd like to share a document with you. Last week I received a data dump, actually a series of documents, that are the most shocking evidence of the existence of adrenochrome I've ever seen. The volume is extensive and important to share, as it shows that it is highly unlikely that all these documents are falsified or created by a LARP. For those of you that do not know what adrenochrome is, it's a substance used as a drug and life elixir. The drug is the most expensive on the market and extremely popular amongst Hollywood stars. It is derived from blood of young donors, preferably below the age of 12 years old. The blood needs to contain the highest amount of adrenaline, for which the children are terrorized, raped, and tortured to raise their adrenaline level. When the child is in an extreme state of pain and fear, the blood is harvested. This happens in the so-called adrenochrome harvesting sites, on an industrial scale and within a worldwide network, as the documents that I will share in this video will point out. It started with this letter that was sent to a German blogger. Dear Mr. Schaefer, I'm sending you the photocopies and printouts because I am afraid. I ordered USB sticks at Amazon and received them last week. One stick had an opened packaging and there was data on it, PDF texts. At first I wanted to send the stick back, but then I thought, no, let's first see what's on it. I do not understand English very well, but what I understand is that it was a list of abducted children. Those are probably caught and abused. It is terribly sad. A company called CYM runs scams and evaluates children. They offer the adrenochrome and sell it. Disposal means elimination. There are hundreds of pages and I can only print out a few. There are also lists of names and photos of adults. I think that these are the people who keep the children captive. So she sent these files to this blog because he was writing about Q and Trump's plan. I cannot send an email because I'm really afraid, and I think that these are terrible killers that torture the small children, just like Q also writes. I've been reading about Q for a long time. Please find the possibility to publish this on your blog or on a website. I've checked the names, etc., etc. I have a few, I've looked up a few of them, not all of them. And these companies, they seem so serious. Can you give the list to Mr. Trump, who will hopefully get them out of their misery? I'm really afraid, and in case this letter gets intercepted, they cannot find my name because my son is about the same age as these poor children. It's signed by Steffi, and the PS is, if I have to send more, then I must be careful. Please write on your Hominibus website, like, Steffi, contact me. Then I see that I can answer. So this is the first document that was found on this USB stick. It is a document by the CYM Corporation, an inmate report. Here are the names of the children, the birthday. This child is 6 years old. the blood type, in custody for this number of months. So this child has been in custody for almost 2 years. There are also children that are in custody for 3 years. The adrenochrome quality, the sites, the camps, and I will get into that in the presentation a bit further on. The year when they are planned to be disposed, whether they are suicidal or not. So these children of 12 years old and younger, many of them are suicidal. The country of origin, the daily quota, which is dazzling to me, 25 daily quotas, and the inmate number. This is page 1 out of 12 pages, and it's pretty recent. It's printed in June 1st, 2020. This goes on and on and on. These names need to be searched in a database, police database, CPS database. This is the volume of documents. And let's go to the next page. This is a summary. No, wait, this is a summary. The CYM Corporation Production Report, raw adrenochrome production. These are the locations of the camps, the origin of the countries where these children are abducted, the number of inmates. You can see it's large volumes, the production in milligrams, and the average age. This is the adrenochrome production report per child. These are the names, date of birth, age, inmate number, name of the camp in use for this number of months, captured in country of origin, and the year when they are planned to be disposed. Part 2 of the production data, the blood type, suicidal or not. If marked yes, isolate subject and increase production. These people have no empathy. The daily production and type of torture. This is really shocking. Children come from Costa Rica, incarceration facility. I think this is the abbreviation of Guantanamo Bay. Surprising, because the bad guys were supposed to be locked up there. Apparently not. And there's many, many more captured from the United States, Canada. And again, I will go a little bit faster through these documents, but there's many, many, many documents. And another thing that is interesting to point out, that these forms have been filled in with a typewriter, and you can tell because the print of each letter is slightly different, which is a characteristic of a typewriter, an old-fashioned one, to avoid a digital paper trail. I'll show you the volume here. So these are all the forms. There are many. It's huge. So this is the disposal report by the CYM Corporation. In the first quarter of 2019, this number of children were disposed. In 2019 total, almost 400 children were disposed. I guess this is the adrenochrome quota or quality. When children have a B quality, they will be disposed. This is a more detailed disposal report, page 1 out of 8. Name of the child, date of birth. So this child is 8 years old. To be disposed, it was disposed in the first quarter of 2019. This child is 7 years old. And again, this just goes on and on and on. These are the locations of the adrenochrome harvesting sites. United States Army Special Medical Corps, Personnel Performance Report, center name, that's the camp name, and rank. Some sort of diagram that I do not completely understand. It's related to the personnel and the performance. Camp Anza, Camp Callan. Please note these names because these are significant. Camp Kearney, Camp Kohler, Camp Lawrence J. Hearn, Camp Lockett, Camp McQuaid, Camp Santa Anita, Camp Sealy, Camp Stoneman, Camp Young. Now, if you look at these names, for instance, Camp Callan, it was a United States training center operational during World War II. It was located in San Diego, California, and the facility was closed shortly after the war, and a few traces of the base remain. This is what it looked like at the time. But apparently, according to these documents, these camps are still operational. This is Camp Anita, the way it looked in the Second World War. This is another camp that is listed in these documents, Fort Point, and according to Google Maps, the location is just below the Golden Gate Bridge, and I think this is this building, I'm not sure. There are all these deserted places. Actually, this is a museum, so could also point out to the underground facilities. Camp Stoneman used to be a United States Army military facility in Pittsburgh, California. Also closed down. So that's a pattern. Another pattern is that their location is near national parks, very deserted areas. Fort Ord, California, near Monterey Bay, and I will get back to Monterey Bay in a minute. I don't know where the fort exactly is. This area is, there are many locations that are called Fort Ord, but there's also a national park here. So the secluded area, Fort de John, very desolated. And this is a list of closed military installations in California. And if you look at the list, it's identical with the names in these documents. Camp Anza, Camp Callan, Camp Kearney, Kohler, Lockett, Santa Anita, Stoneman, Fort Ord, Fort Point, Presidio of San Francisco. This list is identical with this list. So I suspect that all these closed military installations throughout the US are all still operational, either above ground or below ground. And again, this is extensive, page 5 out of 8. We'll go fast forward. This is a huge document. And whatever this is a professional organization and big scale. The CYM Caring Corporation. Caring is youth, youth is money, money is freedom. Well, freedom not for the children, for sure. Note of promotion. Lance Walls works at Camp Callan as a warden, senior warden or leading warden, assigned to CYM Corp, New York, warden in Adrenochrome harvesting site, AHS, or another function. I would like to point out this contact information. In Monterey, California, I'll go back to the military camps. This is the same address as this. And you can find this at installationsmilitary1source.mil. And this is an official organization that helps mediate American military to provide housing, also connected to these locations. What I find shocking is if you look at these documents and these pictures, I mean, this looks like a very young, nice girl. Why is she working at these camps? According to this document, needs to be investigated. Another thing I like to point out is this location of the address on the letterhead. The CYM Corporation headquarters, 725 Fifth Avenue, New York, office 292. That's the Trump Tower, 725 Fifth Avenue. But what's interesting is that Benjamin Fulford wrote in his report of September 28th that there were some arrests made in regards to this data dump, and that this shop, Abercrombie and Fitch Kids on Fifth Avenue, was a facade, a cover-up for this organization, and is actually right across from Trump Tower. So the Trump Tower address might also be a smokescreen. I mean, it threw me off at first because I thought that's kind of odd that the Trump Tower is listed on there. But there's hundreds of offices, and you know, you can hide things in plain sight and also use it as a smokescreen that, you know, eventually could point at Trump. So there's different explanations for this. Then this address is also interesting. Deliveries, 200 Forbes since Annapolis in, I think it's Maryland. I'm not sure. And that's this address, and it's a medical building, and apparently it's a pediatrician office. So they need to do some explanation why their address is showing up on this letterhead. So there's all these personnel. This is another thing I'd like to point out. The CYM is a registered trademark. Register number 5475570. Now, if you go to the registration of the trademarks, this number is the registration of the word mark CYM. Now, if you register a trademark, you register either the word mark or the logo separately or combined, and preferably both, because that gives you more protection. Now, what's interesting, so this is not the logo, but it's actually the way it's written down with which characters, the character mark. What's interesting is that it's allocated to the category restaurant services. And the registrant is Limited Liability Company, Pennsylvania, 4658 G Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now, this address lists 4 companies that have the same address: MRP LLC, HP Platano Inc., CYM Island Kitchen, La Tierra del Chicharrón. Now these two is a restaurant in Philadelphia. And at first glance, it's a normal, out-of-the-ordinary restaurant that serves Caribbean food. Island Kitchen, Chicharrón y Más. And, you know, the CYM Island Kitchen is related to the CYM and the CYM Island Kitchen. Seems odd at first that they would list it as a restaurant. The CYM trademark registration is intended to cover the category of restaurant services, but based on these documents, they're involved in adrenochrome production. This is the CYM Chicharrón restaurant. It's in a very rundown neighborhood in Philadelphia. As you can see, they have a large storage space with ventilation shafts on top. Now, you have to realize that adrenochrome, the fresh liquid form, needs to be cooled. So whenever packages are sent, they need to be attached to a cooling unit and a battery. Now, if you deliver something like that at a restaurant where there's a large storage space, nobody would think something about it. And also when people come to pick up packages, nobody would think anything about it. So I think this is a cover. But let's go back to the presentation. These are the personnel reports, notes of promotion. And again, it's many pages. And these names need to be investigated. I haven't been able to find a trail because usually more names, more people with the same name pop up and you can't find these pictures. So I haven't been able to find a match. So a forensic detective needs to look at this. This is the CYM Corporation Personnel Report in detail. You see the names here, the ranks, date of birth, the camps where they work. You see Camp Santa Anita, Camp Callan, Fort Ord, Camp Stoneman. I think this is just California, these files. And again, it's just goes on and on and on. So there's a lot of people working there in this company. A lot of people. In the data dump, there was also a printout of an email to the legal department of George C. Scouts with a satellite image regarding the orderly disposal of human remains. Please note that burial site number 9 is now clearly visible on satellite imagery. Can anyone conceal it better? The fence alone won't be sufficient. So there's at least 9 burial sites. That's pretty shocking. This is a letterhead sent to other companies, whether these are distributors or clients, it's unclear. Pretty recent, July 5th. Please find enclosed our confidential new detainee and production reports as follows. Production of raw adrenochrome per detention center with average age of detainees. List of detainees used for production, duration of custody and scheduled disposal date. Note that the column suicide only states suicide attempts. A finished suicide would appear in the disposal report, not enclosed. The disposal report is what I showed you earlier. The price list of 2020. The quality per 100 milligram, almost 2000. When the quality is below B00, B minus minus, the children will be disposed. Please note, check or cash in advance, checks made payable for CYM Corporation Special Interest Division. C.S. Yorrington, CEO and founder of CYM. I looked up this name and doesn't pop up. It looks like this is a professional organization and they have some IT people and hackers working for them, making sure that the digital trail is, people are not trackable. And again, this is many letters sent to companies, also in the UK, Liverpool, Manchester, Liverpool. That's a lot of documents for a LARP to falsify and to create. I think this is the real deal, to be honest. Controller report. Page 1 out of 35. Some sort of list with all different codes that I do not understand. Abbreviations I do not understand. These are also filled in or created by an old-fashioned typewriter. Now, which company do you still know nowadays that works with an old-fashioned typewriter? This is very voluminous. This was part 1. In part 2, I will go into the international network, documents from Germany, the UK, and links to China. Please download the files and store them in a safe place. Make sure they do not disappear. Share far and wide. You can download the files at this address, which will allow you to open the files in Telegram. If you do not have the Telegram app, you can download all the files here directly. Benjamin Fulford, in his September 28th report, also put a link, an archived link, but it only makes you download the first file. But yeah, help to expose these crimes. These crimes can only exist in the dark. Let's bring this to the light. And by exposing it, we will make it stop. Thanks for watching.
I tell you what, I think as Susan was starting to investigate adrenochrome, Betty White, her face kept coming up because look how young she remained until the issue of adrenochrome started to become less available because people in the Trump administration, they were going after the perps.
Oh, were they?
Yeah. And that's why I think they hate Trump so much.
Well, do you know the Kardashians, Kim Kardashian smears blood on her face to keep her skin young. So I wouldn't doubt it at all if Betty White did that. And when I was looking into urine therapy for my allergies, I also learned that the Hollywood elite use urine on their face to keep their skin young. So those are two products of Satanism: feces, urine, and blood. I'm sure they're not smearing shit on their face, but I wouldn't doubt if they were using urine or blood at all. You know,
she all of a sudden went from the question is, how is it that she was that old yet looking relatively young, and when apparently
I'm sure she was drinking it too.
Okay, but the supply chain of adrenochrome started to become interrupted. And you
I
saw a
didn't
lot.
know that at all about
Yeah,
Trump.
you saw a
Right?
lot of actors and actresses. Trump was going after child trafficking like nobody's business.
See, I didn't know
That's
that.
why.
I see.
That's why
I
they
have
hate him.
this. I think Trump is controlled opposition, so I'm kind of blown away.
My hunch is he's not. They can't buy him, and so he's been going after the child traffickers. That's why he was
I
putting up the
knew
wall.
that, but I didn't know he went that deep. I thought it was
Yeah, it was
surface
only in his
level.
administration that they went after Epstein. So he's gonna finish the deal, and that's why, come hell or high water, they got to make sure he doesn't get in.
Well, he
But the
better get in. The world.
interruption in the free flow of adrenochrome, and at that time, you started to see all these actors and actresses that appeared very young, beyond their age, all of a
Really?
sudden, including what's that? The singer that all of a sudden supposedly came down with that weird disease. What's her name? She's very famous, sang the Titanic. A very famous female actress that all of a sudden became ill. So she was always young looking. She has a line of like Balenciaga kind of line of children's clothing.
Celine Dion.
Yes. Okay, you look how quickly Celine
She
Dion
did. She aged quickly.
there. At the time that Susan was reading about these busts and the finding about these tunnels and where they were getting their adrenochrome from, all the adrenochrome, the mass production of it was now hindered, and that's when all of a sudden you started to see Betty White,
Oh, she
Celine
died.
Dion.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they went from no wrinkles to looking the same thing with Hillary Clinton. You suddenly saw them,
Really?
Nancy Pelosi. Um,
I'll have to look at that.
um, um,
And it was during the Trump era.
and wait,
Wow.
who's Senator Feinstein? She all of a sudden went old. So very interesting. They all went old about at the same time, which, from what Susan was researching, the free flow of adrenochrome was interrupted.
Who is it? Pelosi,
You,
Feinstein, Betty White, and who else? Oh, Celine
um,
Dion.
Celine Dion. So look
I'm
at
gonna
about the
look at
time
that.
frame that they all started to get suddenly old. It was almost overnight.
So the Trump era.
And that's why they want Trump so badly. They want him out.
So 2016 to
Yeah,
2020.
so that'll be interesting to find out how many other actresses went from being attractive to all of a sudden going downhill real fast.
Wow. Wow. Oh, in that clip?
I don't know if in that clip, but I think I
What
saw
what is the red shoes? I know
that
it's at the
represents
end.
the pedophile, elite pedophile club.
Oh, I
Tom
always
Hanks,
wondered.
there's a picture of all these elite people that are in a half circle and they're all sticking out a foot. They all have red shoes on. So the black
I
eye,
was always wondering
okay,
what
the
the
black
red
eye
shoes was
club.
about.
I worked with a survivor that she didn't know about the black eye club. A memory came back to her
Yeah,
that
you
they
told
had
me
right? They had trained her to puncture the eye, but she didn't know about the
what it
panda
was
eye thing on
doing. Yeah.
adults. And so you look at Harry Reid and others, and they have the black eyes, but they also had at different times red shoes on.
Wow. Because I've done a Black Eye Club video. I know
So
about
now do
that.
red shoes.
And I
And
have that as a topic, but I had no idea what it meant.
adrenochrome apparently was like the fountain of youth. It keeps you young,
Uh-huh.
but you got to stay on it, or all of
Yeah.
a sudden, almost like the cannibalism, that weird twitching thing. I saw Hillary twitch one time, because apparently, if you do cannibalism in the brain, it's going to affect the brain. I think you showed me that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I can see if that all of a sudden now it's adrenochrome is this main drug of choice, fountain of youth. It keeps them high, but if you cut that supply off,
Wow. It all makes sense. All of it.
and so I'm having these maps, these different perps and perp apologists. I'm really highlighting what they're about. So it's pro porn and pro the legalization of pedophilia, adding P to the growing list of LGBT
Yeah. Yeah.
and the books in the schools. So this kind of thing, just like adrenochrome to the elite, the ability to reframe pedophiles out in the open that are going after the kids. So anytime you touch that, so I guess I know the level of aggression and intensity they've gone after me. I can only imagine. You cut off adrenochrome. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so Colin Ross, kind of the psychiatrist that was really blazing the trail for MPD and then DID, connected the dots with MK Ultra. He's narrating a film in a training. I'm sorry. So in a training he was doing, he's got the PowerPoint presentation talking MK Ultra and the drugs they were using. One of those that he lists, that Colin Ross does, is adrenochrome. And this training was from the 80s. Colin Ross, he had a couple of DID programs, really residential programs in Texas. But Colin,
so he's not up on YouTube or anything?
No, he is. He is.
Oh, okay.
And so his main focus then shifted to, first of all, it was DID, then it was shifting to MK Ultra, and then really the SRA connection. And so that's when they started to poo-poo him and call him a crazy conspiracy theorist.
Because he was touching their supply. Yeah.
Right.
Just like you poking the bear.
There you go. But it was very interesting. And for him, he didn't camp on adrenochrome. But that's what was so interesting, that here I'm watching a little excerpt of a talk he was given, talking about the CIA experimented with LSD, Operation Midnight Climax. Yeah, so it's just, matter of fact, and which pharmaceutical companies. So what jumped out to me was the lack of him camping on adrenochrome, but he listed it. He said, this, LSD, and this, and this, and adrenochrome. And I'm thinking, adrenochrome. So
Melissa thinks adrenochrome's like a myth. And
right,
I'm
but
learning
there's Colin Ross. There's Colin Ross listed in a very matter-of-fact way that the CIA was using. And so I've got that clip that I'm going to highlight. It's one thing for me to camp on, look, there's adrenochrome, but he was just matter-of-fact listing it among the things that the CIA, these different drugs, and he's just saying adrenochrome, and I'm thinking, oh my God.
Now, adrenochrome, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the adrenaline that comes from fear, and then and it floods the blood.
Correct.
And
so
then
it's adrenaline-filled blood.
Okay.
That has to come from near death-defying moments.
Yes.
And oftentimes they're going to extract it just right, and they're going to extract it sometimes just before the child dies, and therefore, as you said with your grandma, they want the kidneys because the
adrenal gland. Yeah.
So you traumatize a kid to death, and there's been that flood of it. Now you can extract their blood as well. But the fact that Colin Ross, he wasn't even connecting the dots with that. So here he lists the CIA, the drugs they used, and there's adrenochrome. So Colin Ross didn't even camp on that and make a big deal of it. It's like, that's all I need.
One of them.
There we go. But just very matter of fact in the list. And it's like, this stuff's been around for a long time, this knowledge of adrenochrome.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Isn't that probably all the way back to Babylon?
I guess, but who would
I mean,
they've
been doing this for millennia.